A lot of people talk about exposure therapy in regards to getting over fears and gaining more confidence. But have you ever wondered why exposure therapy might not work for a lot of people? Let's dive into this because it's really fascinating. What are the factors that contribute to that mental readiness or that mental dexterity? And how do we tap into those insights so that we can gain more confidence? You see, because confidence is one of the most important keys to achieving your dreams, your goals, your objectives, and your intentions. So that's why it's really important to understand the psychology behind it and how this all works. And so the first question I want to ask is, how is your relationship with criticism and rejection? Because that's the first roadblock right there that stops people dead in their tracks. And how do you decipher its validity? Because either way, the criticism can be used as a tool, whether it's valid or not. If it's valid, you can take that as feedback. If it's not valid, all that's really doing is showing the mental state of the other person, but that really doesn't matter as much as you might think. And first of all, you can't allow another human being that breathed the same air as you to psych you out of your confidence. And you got to remember that thick skin and self-esteem go hand in hand. We live in a day and age right now where people are so sensitive. It's like, ow, you can't say nothing. And a lot of times political correctness just is another word for low self-esteem. And I'm going to go over how identity plays an important role in your self-esteem and ultimately your confidence. So understanding that most people have an issue when it comes to perceptions of other people. They're worried about how they're being perceived by the outside world. When you understand this, you realize it's all about a mindset shift. The main focus should be learning and growing over impressing other people. Because when you're worried about accolades, compliments, and looking good, that's outside validation, which is a short-lived confidence. It's a false sense of confidence. It's not true confidence that comes from within. So what are the two things that contribute to real confidence? I'm going to say it's accomplishment and it's proficiency. Every time you accomplish something, the confidence from doing that is going to bleed into other areas of your life. When you become super proficient in what it is that you're trying to do, you're going to gain more confidence day by day. You see, confidence should be the byproduct. It should never be the main focus. It should be something that comes along with you maintaining and going after and elevating on your purpose. And remember, people treat you according to the value that they place on you. And the value that they place on you ultimately comes from the value that you place on yourself. And the value that you place on yourself is a result of the things that you do. And see, a lot of people talk about confidence as it being situational. For example, like a marathon runner is not going to be confident in a powerlifting competition, or a powerlifter not as confident running a marathon, of course. Or maybe a chess master not as confident on stage performing a concert, and a musician not as confident in a chess tournament, which is kind of like a blanket statement. Of course, that's the case, but it's much deeper. And if you look at it like situational confidence is the end all be all, it's not actually a good way to look at it, because you're not focused on the objective. Everybody is unique in their own way. So your proficiency in the craft of your choosing acts like a launch pad, which will spread out. As your skill grows, you become more equipped to handle other situations. And because you're proficient, you're more familiar with the intricacies in your chosen path. And that familiarity is going to breed competence, problem-solving skills, and better performance. See, because when your execution is on point, that reinforces a positive feedback loop. And that self-assurance then permeates into leadership roles, better interpersonal relationships, and being more adaptable. And now that you've demonstrated psychological resilience in one thing, you've created a ripple effect that starts to branch out, beginning from your mindset into other areas. So my whole point is, worrying about how you're perceived rather than your work output is like taking a shit after you take a shower. It's just ass backwards. Confidence has to be earned. So your performance should be paramount. All this is going to help you honor your values and have integrity with your boundaries, provided that your values are ethical. So let me share a personal story with you. I mean, it was kind of weird in school as a kid because I wasn't good at reading. I was diagnosed dyslexic, had learning disabilities. But whenever the teacher would call on us to read, I would all of a sudden get real nervous because I didn't want to read in front of the class because I was very slow. I would mispronounce words. I would literally sink into my chair. Like, hope she doesn't call on me because it's not going to be good. And it was very difficult for me to learn how to read and write. So then not only am I having trouble reading in the first place, now because I'm nervous and my heart is literally beating through my shirt, the anxiety of the teacher calling on me was even worse than reading. Because I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, I can't even read in general. So reading out loud is going to be even much more difficult. And because of all this, me being in my head too much, now my reading was 10 times worse than it actually would have been if my mindset would have just switched to, okay, I'm not good at reading, but I'm here to learn as best I can. I would have gotten over that much quicker. It wasn't so much that I was bad at reading or had a learning disability. What it was that I learned a different way from a lot of the other kids. All it really was a simple mindset shift. Okay, I'm reading and I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to learn and get better. It's a small little understanding. I'm doing this and I'm going to improve. It's more of a positive outlook on the situation. But to me, it was all doom and gloom. Kids would laugh at me, and so I'm worried about what the other kids were thinking about me, which was a total waste of my time. Until one day, there was a different teacher to where the teacher was like, all right, we're going to have fun and we're going to read this play. And we were all joking around reading the play, pretending to be certain characters in the circle, taking turns. And now all of a sudden, I'm reading perfect. There's no hesitation. I'm just spitting out my lines and going. And fast forward to today, I'm actually an avid reader. I love reading. I got books all over the place. So I think reading in itself contributes to your confidence because it contributes to your competence. Now, what this really boils down to is love and self-love. Think about when you're loved, right? You're loved by people. That gives you confidence. You feel good. You feel like you're not being judged. When you have enough self-love, it's the same thing. And a lot of people will say they love themselves, but they're actually super critical on themselves. And they have a lot of doubts flowing in their minds. And that self-love is being jeopardized by certain beliefs or the way that they talk to themselves. Another really important component to confidence and self-esteem is going to be your self-expression. How do you best express yourself? Is it verbally? Is it physically? Is it intellectually? Artistically? Mathematically? There's all kinds of ways that you can express yourself because everybody has their own superpower. And we talked about this in some other videos, but identifying what your superpower is, your gift. Because when you accentuate your own gift and bring that to the world, it's going to strengthen your purpose. And then the self-esteem and confidence go along with it. And I would say no matter what your superpower or your gift is to the world, things like dancing and singing, music and dancing are some of the best forms of expression to get into. We all know how to dance, even though some of us are more natural when it comes to dancing ability or musicality, rhythm and stuff like that. Trying to dance freely, your own true self-expression that's unique to you, is going to heighten your senses. I think human beings are meant to dance. We're meant to hear music, drums, rhythm, and dance. The same thing with music. Human beings have been singing ever since we've been walking the face of the earth. Sing to your favorite songs. You like hip-hop music? Sing along or rap along to the lyrics in some of your favorite songs. Now, when you do this, you notice it, right? You feel more alive. Your vibration's higher. So singing and dancing, always do. Always sing, always dance. Now, I want to talk about the different stages of the ego, because there's an outer ego and there's an inner ego. The outer ego, like I said before, is more concerned with things outside of itself. I want to drive a nice car because of the way I'm going to be perceived when I drive down the street in a nice car. Or I want to have big muscles so that when people see me, they're like, oh, the guy's jacked, or that girl's fit, she's in shape. Or they may want to accomplish certain things for status, so that when people see them, they're like looking up to them. Now this, you can say, is a false sense of confidence because it's contingent upon what other people think of you. The validation from others is more important than the validation for yourself. And the thing about it is, it's a short-lived confidence, because ain't no telling if those people are going to love you tomorrow. You might say something that pisses them off or rubs them the wrong way, and then all of a sudden they're gone. So the ego is a really funny thing, right? Because the ego is made up of your identity from when you're growing as a kid. I think it's after the age of 4 when your ego starts to develop. So from 4 years old on to about the teenage years or late teens, early 20s, your ego is building itself upon what it knows from society. And then you hit another shift, your ego will shift and form its own identity, its own individual identity, somewhere around the 20s. And then throughout your life, there's these shifts, like every 15 to 20 years. As you gain more knowledge and wisdom, you start to understand things. You start to have more of a 360 view. So it's important to build up your inner ego. The ego is not all bad. Everybody has an ego. And when used properly, your ego can be a very good tool in helping you accomplish things, helping you increase that proficiency. Now, even though I talked about a lot of metaphysical things for confidence in this video so far, it's really important to factor in the physical things, the material things. Okay, when you dress nice, you're going to feel good as well. When you drive a nice car, a car that you like, it's going to make you feel good. When you're in good physical shape and you eat nutritious food, your body's going to feel good. And when it comes to food, food is more important than most people realize. Because if you're eating dead foods, if you're eating foods that are designed in a factory, it's going to lower your energy tremendously. When you eat real high vibrational foods, real foods with life force flowing through them, food is instructions to the body, which in turn makes you feel good and healthy, makes you feel alive. So don't overlook the diet aspect when it comes to confidence, because it's not only about your physical appearance, it's also about your brain and how that functions and operates. So be careful of what you're putting into your body. Also, the more experiences you have, the more experiences you cultivate in life are going to contribute to your confidence. If you're well-traveled, you're going to learn things that you can't learn in books. When you go to other parts of the world, when you learn about other cultures, another really important thing to do is to meet more people. Talk to and understand different people and different personalities. I also want to talk about one of the other actions you can take in building a lot of confidence. And if you are, between the ages of 20 and 30 years old, or you're a teenager, I would say to get a job in door-to-door sales. You can make some decent money, but even better than that, the interpersonal skills you're going to learn by doing this job. You're going to learn so much by dealing with different personalities. Now, if you have a good training program in the company that you work for, that's the most important thing. You got to make sure that the company that you're going to work for has a really good training program, good coaches, good mentors, because they'll tell you and they'll teach you how to handle different personalities, how to strengthen your mindset. The tools that you learn and the skills that you learn going door to door, knocking on a stranger's home, breaking preoccupation, breaking the ice, having a conversation, building rapport. When you first do it, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking. You're going to feel like a fish out of water, but that's what's supposed to happen. It's a process. Nobody's a natural when they start anything. But if you do that for 6 months to a year, you start to become better at it, and you start to see your proficiency in that one thing branch out into other areas. You all of a sudden start becoming better at having conversations with just random people in general. Or you notice yourself being more comfortable in job interviews. And then you get to a point where you're comfortable public speaking. You can do a demonstration in front of a bunch of people. So when you do something hard, all the other harder things become much easier. And that's really the point of this video. If you have very, very low confidence right now, you start somewhere. And the main goal would be to get just enough up to the next level that gives you more steam to get another notch up, day by day. Now me, being somebody when I was younger in school that felt like I was going to have a heart attack if the teacher called on me to read in front of the class, to working for a door-to-door company, knocking on strangers' doors, dealing with all types of different personalities, doing public speaking, trainings in front of groups. I'm not naturally confident. I wouldn't consider myself a naturally confident person, but I've done things over the years that have built the confidence. And remember, the most important thing to keep in mind is having a learning and skill building mentality instead of how am I looking? How am I looking in front of everybody mentality? Because you wanting to get to the next level is the most important part. And you got to understand that, because that takes precedence over what other people are thinking about you. And then when you can do that, that's when you start to notice more confidence. So every day, let's get to the next level. Let's motivate to the gate, and I'll see you on the next one.